Country music fans across the world were struck with grief when news broke that Jeannie Seely, often called Miss Country Soul, had passed away peacefully at the age of 85. For more than 5 decades, she had been a shining light on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, a performer whose voice, wit, and fearless personality helped shape the very foundation of modern country music. But while fans knew her as a strong and lively presence, her final days carried a quiet struggle that few outside her inner circle could see. Her passing was not only the loss of a great performer, but also a reminder of the enormous impact she had on the country music community. What made the announcement even more surprising was how quietly it arrived. Instead of a dramatic farewell or public ceremony, the first news came in the form of a short statement from her longtime publicist. This felt far too small for an artist who had dedicated her life to country music. Many fans expected the Grand Ole Opry to immediately celebrate her. But for hours, there was silence, which only deepened the heartbreak and confusion. As tributes began to pour in from stars, friends, and admirers, the real story of Jeannie Seely's legacy, her struggles, and the shocking moments at her funeral began to unfold. Jeannie Seely was born in Titusville, Pennsylvania, in 1940. Like many young girls of her generation, she grew up listening to traditional country music. But, unlike most, she carried a fire inside her that could not be contained by small-town life. In her early 20s, she packed her bags and headed to Nashville, chasing a dream that so many before her had tried to achieve, but only a few managed to realize. For Jeannie, the road was not easy. Nashville, in the 1960s, was dominated by male artists and a very specific idea of what female performers should look and sound like. But Jeannie was determined not only to sing, but also to change the way women were seen in the industry. Her big break came in 1966 with the release of Don't Touch Me, a powerful ballad filled with raw emotion and heartfelt lyrics. The song instantly connected with audiences and shot her to stardom. More than just a hit single, it changed the landscape of female voices in country music. Jeannie's style was bold, direct, and emotional at a time when many women were expected to be soft and quiet. Her strong stage presence, her platinum blonde hair, and her sharp humor made her stand out. By 1967, she had earned a spot in the Grand Ole Opry, making her one of the youngest women to achieve that honor. Becoming a member of the Grand Ole Opry was more than a personal achievement for Jeannie Seely. It was the beginning of a long relationship that defined her career and her identity as an artist. For more than 55 years, she graced the Opry stage, not only as a performer, but also as a host, mentor, and leader. She was the first woman to regularly host Opry segments, something that had previously been reserved for men. This simple but important role allowed her to bring a new kind of energy to the stage. Her quick wit, strong opinions, and fearless personality gave her an edge that audiences loved. She was not afraid to joke around, challenge traditions, or speak out against unfair treatment of women in the industry. Many of her peers described her as a trailblazer who opened doors for those who came after her. Over the years, Jeannie became a cultural icon, not only for her music, but also for her fight for gender equality in country music. She performed alongside legendary names such as Willie Nelson and Bill Anderson, collaborated on unforgettable songs, and became known as someone who always looked glamorous on stage while staying completely authentic. Offstage fans described her as family, and younger performers looked at her as a mentor who believed in them when others did. Not one of the most powerful parts of Jeannie Seely's career was the way she lifted other women. In an industry that often made it difficult for female performers to be taken seriously, she became a symbol of strength and independence. She once joked that people called her the "Seely you later girl" because she never stuck to what was expected of her. This rebellious spirit inspired many younger women who were just starting out in country music. Artists like Lainey Wilson, Casey Musgraves, and Ashley McBryde have all spoken about how Jeannie's example gave them courage to take risks and stay true to themselves. Beyond her music, she also worked behind the scenes to fight for equal opportunities. She pushed for female performers to have the same respect as their male counterparts. Whether it was on stage, in recordings, or backstage at the Opry, her impact extended beyond the microphone, showing that true leadership comes from actions as much as words. Even as she grew older, Jeannie continued to mentor rising stars, offering advice, encouragement, and tough love when needed. She reminded them that country music was not just about fame or chart numbers, but about honesty, storytelling, and heart. For many, she became more than just an artist they admired. She was a role model and a pioneer who made it possible for them to succeed. Although Jeannie Seely remained a strong and graceful presence on stage, her final year was marked by quiet struggles that very few people saw. Fans who had followed her for decades began to notice subtle changes in her performances. She still sang beautifully, but her voice seemed slightly less powerful, and her famous playful banter between songs was softer and more restrained. Her schedule, which had once been packed with concerts, charity events, and Opry appearances, started to slow down. Some fans speculated she might be dealing with health problems, but nothing was ever officially announced. Close friends later revealed that she had been privately battling a chronic illness, likely related to respiratory complications, but she chose not to speak about it publicly. Her longtime friend Bill Anderson shared that she wanted people to remember her as she was strong and singing, not sick in a hospital bed. That decision spoke volumes about her character. She valued her audience and her legacy too much to let illness define her. Instead, she kept working, performing, and smiling. Even when her health made it difficult, Jeannie Seely's last performance at the Grand Ole Opry was one that fans will never forget. It took place on a warm April evening, and many in the audience did not realize at the time that they were witnessing history. She walked on stage wearing a sparkling blue gown, looking elegant but noticeably tired. As she began to sing "Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight?", her voice carried the same beauty and soul it always had, but there was something deeper, a hint of farewell in every note. Toward the end of the song, her voice cracked with emotion, and when the final note faded, she stood quietly on the stage, gazing out at the audience as though she wanted to remember the moment forever. Many now believe it was her way of saying goodbye. Not long after that night, her public appearances became fewer. She cancelled several scheduled shows, citing travel fatigue, and her once active social media fell silent. In one of her last interviews, she gave a hint of what was to come. She said, "The curtain always falls eventually. But when it does, I hope people remember that I loved the music, and I meant every word I sang." Those words now serve as a powerful reminder of her deep love for country music and her audience. On July 22, 2025, the heartbreaking news came that Jeannie Seely had passed away peacefully at her home in Nashville, surrounded by family. The announcement was made by her publicist in a short press release that simply said she had died in her sleep. For many fans, the statement felt far too small for such a legendary figure. What made matters worse was the initial silence from the Grand Ole Opry itself. Hours after the announcement, her name was still listed on the upcoming performer section of the Opry's website, and no tribute was posted on its social media. Fans flooded the Opry's pages with messages of confusion and anger, asking why there had been no immediate recognition for someone who had dedicated more than half a century of her life to the Opry stage. When a statement was finally released, nearly 12 hours later, it described her as the heart and humor of the Opry family. While the tribute was heartfelt, many thought it came too late. This delay sparked speculation about behind-the-scenes disagreements between Seely and Opry leadership. Although no such rift was ever officially confirmed, still, the slow response left a shadow over what should have been an immediate celebration of her life. Just days later, Jeannie Seely's private funeral was held at the historic Ryman Auditorium, a place known as the Mother Church of Country Music. The event was not open to the public, but details quickly spread. True to her personality, Jeannie had requested that it not be a traditional service. Instead of somber suits and dark clothes, she asked attendees to wear boots, rhinestones, and bright colors. The result was a celebration that reflected her life and style. Dolly Parton, who could not attend in person, sent a heartfelt video message describing Jeannie as her truth-teller and partner in sass. Another moving moment came when a letter from Loretta Lynn's family was read aloud, revealing that Jeannie had visited Loretta shortly before her own passing and that the two had made a pact to always hold the door open for future generations of women in country music. Perhaps the most surprising moment came when Reba McEntire, dressed in black, walked onto the stage unannounced and sang an acoustic version of Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight. Her voice cracked with emotion as she ended the song with tears in her eyes. For many in attendance, it was the most moving tribute of the night. Even after her passing, Jeannie Seely's voice will continue to be heard. Just a week after her funeral, her longtime producer revealed that she had left behind a collection of unreleased songs, some of which had already been prepared for a special project she hoped to release on her 85th birthday. The album, now expected to be released posthumously under the title One Last Song, will include duets with stars like Willie Nelson, Alison Krauss, Vince Gill, and Kelsey Ballerini. Music historians are already calling it one of the most important releases by a female country artist in decades. Alongside the album, her estate also announced the creation of the Jeannie Seely Foundation for Women in Country Music, a non-profit dedicated to supporting young female artists through scholarships, mentorship, and opportunities to perform. The foundation will be formally launched at the 2025 CMA Awards, where Seely will also receive a Lifetime Impact Award. These projects show that, even in death, Jeannie's influence continues to open doors for others with Jeannie Seely gone. The Grand Ole Opry faces an important question: who, if anyone, can fill the space she left behind? For decades, she was more than a performer. She was a host, a mentor, and the spirit of the Opry stage. Some fans have suggested that her position should remain unfilled as a permanent tribute, while others believe the Opry should honor her by passing the torch to another female artist who can continue her legacy. Names like Ashley McBryde, Lainey Wilson, Rizzy Palmer, and even Casey Musgraves have been mentioned as possible successors. Whoever takes the role will face enormous pressure, as no one can truly replace Jeannie. Still, her absence serves as both a challenge and an opportunity for the Opry to embrace diversity and continue the fight for equality that Jeannie championed throughout her career. Beyond the Opry stage, her influence will continue to guide artists, inspire fans, and remind everyone that authenticity and passion matter more than fame. Looking back on Jeannie Seely's life, it becomes clear that she was far more than a country singer. She was a pioneer, a mentor, a truth-teller, and a woman who refused to be silenced in an industry that often tried to hold women back. She opened doors for others, challenged traditions, and left behind a body of work that will stand the test of time. In one of her final interviews, she said, "If I leave behind one thing, I hope it's this, that it's okay to be exactly who you are, even if it ruffles feathers. Even if you sing a little off-key, sing anyway." Those words are perhaps the truest reflection of her spirit. She lived unapologetically, sang fearlessly, and inspired generations to follow in her footsteps. Though she may no longer walk onto the Opry stage, her echo will always remain in every note sung there, and in every young artist who dares to dream. Jeannie Seely's passing at 85 marked the end of an era, but her legacy